lab safety. I'm your host, Brian Maurer. Through my experiences in the lab, I have seen many horrors brought about by improper lab safety. Let me tell you a story about a girl named Carol.
Carol never wore goggles, or any of the correct laboratory apparel. Now she doesn't need them. Still, this tragedy could have been prevented if she only knew what the general laboratory safety rules were.
Even after the accident happened, Carol still could have saved her vision if she only knew where the locations of the safety equipment were. The fire blanket, fire extinguisher, safety shower, eye wash station, and fume hood. But this could have been prevented before if all this clutter had been cleaned up. Here are some other rules that should be followed to ensure a safe lab. Horseplay is never tolerated in a laboratory. Follow all written instructions completely. Perform only the lab activities for which the teacher has given instruction, and always know the lab procedures before starting the experiment.
Experience in the lab, I've seen a lot of injuries brought about by flames and heat. Hot things are often referred to as the silent killer because you cannot tell the difference between a glass heated and a glass at room temperature.
There are some fire and heat safety tips that I should also tell you. Basically, fire is hot, and your skin does not like hot. Use protective clothing for hot equipment. Open flames also don't mix with skin or clothes, so never reach over an open flame. Don't mix flammable materials with fire. They are called flammable for a reason. They catch on fire. Don't throw away lit or burning things. They can catch the trash on fire. When heating a substance in a test tube, do not look into the tube or point it in the direction of any person.
When using a Bunsen burner in the lab, it is very important that you maintain the correct type of flame. If we look at Smith's flame, you'll see it doesn't have a defined shape. And due to the excess oxygen in the air, it shows an orange coloration. So as we see, when Smith adds his water to the flame, it is not being properly heated for the flame is too weak due to the excess oxygen. So now if we look at a good flame, you want defined shape and it'll have a slight blue tint due to the presence of gas in the flame. Now as we look when Coker adds his substance to the heat, you'll see that it's being heated properly. That's because this is a strong, well-defined shape. That's the kind of flame you want out of a Bunsen burner in the lab.
As Carol unfortunately found out the hard way, chemicals are dangerous and should be handled cautiously. Never touch or directly smell unknown substances. Instead, waft and sniff cautiously.
If Carol only knew that in the case of a burn from an acid or alkali, to immediately wash the affected area with plenty of running water. Her case could have been prevented.
In my time, I've seen what electricity can do to a person. It can kill them, and it can also bring them back to life. But for us, it is better if we stay away from running electricity through our bodies. Never use equipment with frayed cords and loose or broken wires. Never touch electrical equipment with wet hands or use equipment near water. Turn off the power switch before plugging into an outlet. Never jerk plugs from the outlet or pull them by their wire. Be familiar with operating instructions before using any electrical equipment. If you do not follow just one of these safety rules, the results could be deadly. Communication is a very important aspect of the lab. Knowing the names and appearance of all lab equipment that you are using will prevent any mistakes from happening. Also report all
Also, report all broken and chipped glassware to the teacher, and don't pick up broken glass with your hands. Be careful with sharp equipment. They are made to cut, and we do not want it to cut you.
When working with live or preserved specimens, be sure to be careful. These things can be just as dangerous as any other lab equipment. Always wash your hands and clean up your workspace after a lab.
Take this student, for example. He's in a rush and forgot to clean his table after a dissection because he wants to be the first one to the lunch lines. And now look at this student. He didn't have time to eat his lunch, and now is going to. But that's just an exaggeration. No one would actually eat off something like that, right? But what if it was a bacterium off a petri dish instead of a frog?
Well, that is about all I have to tell you about how to be safe when working in the lab. Now that you are aware of the dangers, you can hopefully prevent another accident like that of Carol's. Thank you for joining us, and have a great and safe time in the lab. The second reaction will be a lab that follows all procedures and does as instructed. As you can see, when you follow the instructions and obey the procedures, the labs end up to be a lot more fun.
Cool.
Cut.
Did you?
By improper heat and flame usage. Yeah, I can't. If I look up there, it looks like I'm not even looking.
So no, it doesn't.
Heat is often referred to as the silent killer because glass.
Just like talk like Brian would talk. Loud. Like project your
Welcome to
voice.
Modern Labs.
Welcome to Modern Labs.
That's good. Okay.
My high school experience is fulfilled.
I'm truly ecstatic.
I was so happy.
You're soaked though.
Dude. How did that look, Coker?
Oh my god.
It looked really good.
Coker, were we all in it?
Yeah.
What a fun class.